Folks, we're visiting today with David Biafora and Mark Keppel. They are with East End Development, and they're the developers for our brand new $120 million plus project in Morgantown, West Virginia called East End Village. Guys, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Great to be here.
Mark, David, yeah, I love it. And welcome to our studio. I appreciate you guys.
Positively West Virginia is powered by Breezeline high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Guys, I'm so looking forward to learning about East End Development and East End Village. It's the talk of West Virginia. It's a major development happening. David, if you wouldn't mind, just tee it up and talk a little bit about East End Village and what you guys are doing right now here in North Central West Virginia.
Well, we've been watching this project for a while. It's about 10 and a half acres and originally started out many years ago with a vision from James Giuliani to be, a student type of new housing and commercial, and things got tough there right before the pandemic, and it just didn't materialize, and the enrollment and the economy and the world just changed a little bit.
Yeah, but
kept our eyes on it, and Jim needed some help there, and he's kind of went into retirement, and so we stepped up, and my brother and myself and Mark Keppel got involved and said, let's make this for the town. Let's make this for the students. Let's make this for everybody. Make it for the state. Yeah. And we got with the Development Authority, and we got them involved. We got the city involved and the county, and it's been really kind of neat because everybody's behind the project. Yeah. Or us or whatever. They're really working with us to rezone. And actually, at this point, nearly 5 years into it, we got 58 houses on the ground.
Complete demolition since October 2024, right?
Them. Yeah. They really rolled in the last four
That's
months.
amazing. I was there for the groundbreaking back in October, I believe it was October 24, and when you stood there and just you kind of realized that like history is in the making. Of course, if somebody's not familiar with downtown Morgantown area. Where this is, it's off of Richwood Avenue. So if you're coming up Willie Street from High Street area, and it's right there to the right off of Richwood Avenue, where the old Dairy Mart used to be. I think it's a Parmar now.
And there used to be a Food Land.
That's right.
It's a grocery store there in the corner.
So this, Mark, maybe you can address this. This is an area that was one of those areas where it's an ideal location for a development. A mixed use, residential, retail, et cetera, hotel perhaps. But it was kind of blighted area, right? Things were starting to almost go downhill. I don't want to make it sound too dire, but it wasn't necessarily a high desirable area.
No, it wasn't. I mean, so many places in West Virginia when we were talking, a little bit out in the lobby there, are kind of subject to that, where you have this just failure of the local economies for whatever reason. Industry moves out, whatever. This particular area had kind of fallen into where it was student housing. Mm-hmm. It became a little run down. Yeah. We started to have some other kind of social problems in that area. Yeah. But then, again, like Dave said, James Giuliani did have a vision. We are able to execute it with the help of the Mon County Development Authority, particularly Russ Rogerson. He does a great job.
Guy, yeah.
Marshall County Commission has come in. The city of Morgantown's come in. So a lot of people have really expressed their support, not only just by the sentiments, but by actually doing something.
Yeah.
And this, we really do believe in the project. It's transformative for Morgantown.
Absolutely.
Because we do have this area of blight. And where in the country are you going to find 10 contiguous acres, plus 10 contiguous acres, immediately adjacent to a major university? I mean, that's a big point.
That's right.
And the university has expressed, some support to us. We know we have a new president coming in. We expect that he will be very excited. So what we see here is this opportunity to build
Yes.
Something that the entire community, the county, and the state is going to be proud of.
I love it.
We're very excited about it. It needs to happen in a lot of places.
Well, and I can't think of somebody better to do it than David Biafora at the helm too, because you are a builder, David.
We like to build, we like to create things, and I've always kind of been like that.
That's right. So take us, and we're going to I think we have a video that we're able to show, and we'll have attached to this podcast too, where folks can actually see the visual of what this is going to look like. And when you lay your eyes on it and you see that vision,
it's pretty neat.
It is.
The 58 homes that are down on the ground, we're probably going to acquire maybe 10 or 12 more.
Yeah.
The nice thing, if you could say the nice thing, they were 80 to 100-year-old homes.
Yeah.
Built in the 30s, 40s,
Right.
Maybe a couple in the 50s, but they were wore out. So nothing historical or worth anything was destroyed.
Yes.
And
that's good to know. Yep.
And it's just it was time for a redevelopment. And the entrance into Morgantown on that end. And, we're working with the state road. We'd like to see a new road come, right off the mile ground, half a mile downtown. But it is just the opportunity. We started there years ago in the late 90s where we purchased the old hospital.
Yeah.
And it had been converted into apartments. And,
you were born there.
And I was actually born in there. Tell my age now, 1964.
How cool was that?
I was born in there. My brother Rick was born in there.
Yeah.
And pretty cool. And we have now renovated that and spent a lot of money inside. I mean, we gutted it to the shell.
Yeah.
And then we had built Central Place where the Central School was.
That's right.
So we've had a great investment there. The nice thing is that Unity Manor, the senior living has been there since I can remember in the 70s,
yes.
the middle 70s. And, just a quality area, quality place. The old wood frame homes are done.
Yeah.
And to build what we're going to build there is neat for all of us, the town, the state.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you envision there? I mentioned a hotel.
We're talking to some operators on a hotel,
yep.
and I think it's well needed.
Yep.
Maybe some type of event or an area that the people can come and hang out and maybe do a watch game party. Maybe roller skate, rollerblade. Maybe a little bit of a park area. With some fire pits and go in and get a coffee, get something to eat. There'll be some retail, some apartments for everybody, not just a student area, not just a senior area, that people from Unity, Manor would support the place. People from our apartments where the old hospital.
It's almost like you're creating a new neighborhood in a sense.
Just attaching to downtown.
Yeah.
Like Mark said, where do you find 10 plus acres?
Yeah, exactly.
And just everybody's
cool.
been really, really, cooperative and saying, even the people that have been, excuse me, selling the homes, they've been very reasonable and, getting their fair market. And, we don't want to, hurt anybody. We just want to do a nice development. And everybody's like, wow, this will be great for everybody.
Yeah, I love that. And like you mentioned, it's a walkable area. So you can walk to downtown, you can walk to campus. It's right adjacent to campus. So especially with, land grant university, a Big 12 institution. I mean, I think it's amazing.
I think the synergy of what this is going to create is going to help downtown a lot.
Yeah.
I mentioned once before in an article a while back in the newspaper about, I think it's going to take from this area at East End all the way down to the wharf. And, when people come to town, whether it's a sporting event or a concert or a medical thing, something they need to come to town for, they might stay in the hotel. They might have family or, people working around that live downtown in a nice, nicer place that's,
I think it's awesome. And a place where you can live, you can work, you can play there. I think it's an awesome vision that you guys have. Mark, you mentioned something, as we were talking a little bit just about something that breaks my heart, quite frankly, is when I drive through West Virginia and some of these areas where you knew that there was economic vitality at one point. You could see it. There was industry. Right? Mm-hmm. David, you mentioned like industry may have left or whatever. But the point is that when you see that and you say, well, man, it would be great if somebody could do something about that, right? But that is not easy to do. And so it takes a developer like David, like you. It takes an organization like East End Development. It takes a private developer, but it also takes this kind of public interest, like the Morgantown Area Partnership. You mentioned Russ Rogerson. He's a great leader, had a vision along with you guys. You had the Monongalia County Development Authority. You have the Monongalia County Commission, the city of Morgantown, all coming together. That is a tough thing to do, to get everybody on the same page, so to speak. How do you do it?
Well, there's a lot of folks that really had a kind of a uniting spirit, I will say. I mean, first, I do have to give credit to Dave. His ability to work with people that may not agree with him is unbelievable. So, I mean, his whole organization, he carries a big stick around here, and he is able to make those personal connections with people. You also have the uniting influences of Russ, that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
He has an extraordinary ability just to kind of simplify a bureaucratic process. And that's one of the benefits that, at least from a development standpoint, you want to look to is how are you going to interface with the county governments and the levels of various approvals that you have to have. Russ has a way about him where he can kind of help us go through that. With the city of Morgantown, we're developing a stronger relationship. Their city attorney, Ryan Simonton, we try to work with him as well.
Yeah.
And everyone is excited. He's excited. The county commissioners, all three of the county commissioners have expressed support, and they seem to really be dedicated to this idea that we need to move forward as a community. It's not about the county. It's not about the town.
Yeah.
And then another person that needs mentioned as someone who really does have that uniting ability is Ron Justice.
Yeah.
He is very active in our local community, serves on a number of boards, and he seems just to have this way of understanding how all of the players on the chessboard play together.
Yeah.
And all of these people have kind of come together and recognized the need. Plus, if we don't save this area, if little pieces of this start breaking off where we can't control it as a contiguous unit, you really start losing bigger populations within that East End area.
Yeah.
So at what point was it going to be that this blight was going to continue into the neighborhood above the wall?
It kind of keeps creeping up.
It keeps creeping up. We've stopped that, we believe.
Yeah.
Stopped it by the demolition, stopped
That's
it by
awesome.
all of the interest that we have in it. So we're very hopeful that now that area beyond that wall is going to grow, and our area is going to grow. So we've injected the vitamins, we've taken the medicine. We're all going to become healthy because of it.
It is a win-win-win
It really is.
All the way
any
around.
way you look at it. And developers are we're by nature tough. Nothing's fast enough. We got to have it our way because we're the developer. We say that, but we do have that little bit of a mindset on being a little bit fluid, and we do listen, and we get frustrated as a developer. They're all alike. We're all from the same breed.
Yeah.
But then you've got your city officials and your bureaucracy that operates the way it does.
Yeah.
But over the years working in the city and then working out of the city, being from here. And knowing everybody, it is great. They know the temperature I'm at. I know the temperature they're at.
Exactly.
But Mark has been
That's great
to be able to, keep it together. And we can have disagreements, but we all have the same goal. Mm-hmm. And the goal is to have a beautiful project that pays taxes, that, has employment, that has good living, and that's going to be here for longer than 70, 80, 100 years. This is brick and mortar and steel. This is, this is just a real kind of a legacy, not looking for that, but I just like building nice stuff. And,
I love it.
And we build to hold. And that's what's,
That's right.
This was originally going to be, maybe pieced off and sold, after it was done. But, we're talking to some finance groups that actually, I got to be honest, they've looked us up. And I'm looking one way, and it came in the backside. Hey, we want to finance a project for you. We heard about your project.
Amazing.
Well, what did you hear about it? Well, we saw the video. Oh, you did. So, why don't you guys keep it? And, we know your background. So I think our reputation has been a big help as to being able to work with everybody, the Russes of the world, the Ronnie Justice. And, our real estate attorney, knows what he needs to do to put the properties together and work with the utility companies and get it as one nice parcel that was broken up over 100 years ago.
Yeah, I love it. Guys, thank you so much. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from Breezeline. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, Breezeline is the best gig in town. You know, here at InnerAction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use Breezeline. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about Breezeline's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're visiting again today with David Biafora and Mark Keppel. They are with the East End Development. It's a group that's developing what's called East End Village. It's a new project in Montague County here in Morgantown, $120 million plus. It's massive. It's going to be great for economic development. It's going to be great for residential living, retail space, business opportunities. David, you know, it's awesome having you here. First of all, I think I followed you ever since I was in high school. I remember,
I remember a year behind me there.
Yeah, I remember shopping at Biafora's men's store on High Street years ago, and you come from a long line of entrepreneurial family members and so forth. Your brother Rick and you are running your main company right nowadays, and you guys are just doing amazing things. Talk about some of the things. Just to give folks an example of the things that you've built over the years. I think of probably one of the gems is Suncrest Town Center in the heart of Morgantown. Talk about some of the other projects you've been involved with.
Suncrest was the first large one. We bought the land in 2001,
yeah.
And it was kind of funny. Some friends of ours, Pat Alexander and Larry Palumbo, called and said, "Hey, I understand you were the successful bidder after Walmart walked." We said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, we have 5 acres. We have an entrance to the property." She couldn't get it really into the property. I said, "Let's partner up." So we partnered up with them to get that going.
Amazing.
And then they retired here a few years back. But that was great. And then, as we were doing that, we were just working in Morgantown, Fairmont, Clarksburg, Bridgeport, and a little bit out of state, Martinsburg, a little bit Pennsylvania, Washington County, and Franklin Township. But it's just been fun on that. I've really taken a liking to the commercial side, and making deals and creating something. And we went up and we were helping someone out on the Middletown Mall and doing some financing, and things didn't work out so well with him, and we ended up purchasing the whole center and turning it inside out, and that's been a real endeavor. And
it's now known as Middletown Commons.
Middletown Commons,
a great complete retail space.
Yeah, the Nationals. I mean, you say once it's done, it's 30 acres, and it really came out nice. We did acquire some land around it, but wish we had 60 acres. I mean, when you start filling up, but getting all the Nationals, your Chipotle and Starbucks and Panera Bread.
How does that work? Because everybody says, "Man, I wish we had a fill in the blank," right? But it's guys like you that are actually talking to those people.
It is the vision. And that was a vision that a lot of people have had. A lot of out-of-state developers looked at, and everybody said, "Why Fairmont? Why Fairmont?" And we get the question continuously: "Why would you go to Fairmont and invest that kind of money, you and your brother?" Well, a couple things. Both of our grandmothers on both sides were from Fairmont.
There you go.
So
that's reason enough.
It's just perfect to throw that in there. We
I love it.
Had different developments in Fairmont, commercial, residential, and been successful. And Fairmont or Marion County, and we're in Harrison County now. But we saw something there, and our premier commercial leasing and sales group, which is some other partners, Mike Audie and Bob Campbell. They've got a team, and we send letters out. We market, and you say, "Look, we have a site, 0.4 of a mile off I-79," and we chased down Aldi and Five Below and Michael's, and they were like, "Wow." And once you get hooked up with them, and then they tell you, "Well, these people follow us. Your Harbor Freights and your Dollar Tree and one after another, and so a little bit of work and a little bit of luck, and it all comes together."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you were saying, you have to see something, and the word that comes to mind is opportunity. You saw Middletown Commons, the Middletown Mall, and said, "Man, this is opportunity for us." right? Not just to build something, but to enrich the community.
It's good for all, and everybody understands it. I mean, right now it's not quite paying its own way. We're carrying, but it's good things take time.
That's right.
And it's in one of the family companies, and we build things to hold. My brother and I, and my son and my nephews are doing the same thing. It's these companies are West Virginia companies, built to stay in West Virginia, and they're going to live here. We live here now, and we're going to pay our taxes and be capitalists of West Virginia, make money and make everybody happy and treat people right. That's
entrepreneurship at its finest, right there. What's the thing you're most excited about right now, Mark? What are you working on?
On this project?
Yep.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that are fun. I would say, I don't want to say that we have the national hotel set up yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
I'm very confident.
That'd be a massive anchor, wouldn't it?
It'd be a massive anchor. I like that big building. I like the fact that we're going to be coming up, and the fun thing about building stuff is it casts a shadow. The sun comes down, it casts a shadow off, and you see, I made that happen.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's a creation piece of it.
Yeah.
I want to see the vitality of that area return. I want to see people walking around. I want to see the Ma and Pa restaurants, the Ma and Pa little shops balanced with some nationals there. That's what I want to see. I want to see that. That's what I'm most excited about.
You can't wait to see it come to
life. I want to see big excavators on site.
Yeah.
That's what that would be exciting.
Yeah. Lawyer turned developer. He's impatient and can't wait to see it.
I want to see it tomorrow. Yeah.
I love it. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're back. We're visiting with David Biafora and Mark Keppel. These guys are with East End Development. It's a company that's really overseeing the development of East End Village, but they're here in Morgantown, but there's so much more that you guys are working on. David, what is the vision that you have long-term for your company? I mean, obviously you're a developer, you're building stuff, you love to create things. What's the vision you have long-term?
Yeah, well, it's hard in this area to find nice tracts of land, good tracts that are, ready to do something with, or, can be dealt with because of the topographically challenge that we live in. But my vision is I look around and see what can be redeveloped.
Yes.
And, we did it with Burr's place over there. It was an old mobile home park that was annexed into the city in 1959. And it was just pretty rough. It was about 2.5 acres, and we turned it into a $10 million development with houses and commercial and residential. Very, very successful.
Beautiful place.
And it's solid bricks and mortar again. Yep. Something that's timeless. Suncrest Town Center, that happened to be just open greenfield. They call it, just a piece of land.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of that around. And so I sit and look around and, where can we, build some townhomes, or where can the boys build another apartment complex? It's just, we've got so much around. I mean, we picked up a 1.75 acre tract over by the hospital, and we're going to do a mid-rise building that's kind of neat with underground parking.
Wow.
72 upscale apartments.
Amazing.
And that'll service the Suncrest area. It's just great. The Suncrest Village was very, very successful. Again, in Greenfield, but there's just not a lot of pockets of land.
Yeah.
So you got to see what is an old housing area or an old apartment complex or an old industrial building that needs to be mowed over and rebuilt.
Is East End Village, is that kind of a redevelopment project then?
Basically, it's a redevelopment. I mean, it's
there was already structures there, and you're coming in.
You talk 58, 68 houses, 70 houses, and like I said earlier, they were wore out.
Yeah.
They got their uses for single family, and then they turned into some student housing that were great for the students. People got a lot of memories there, and it's now it's going to be the new age, the new look, the new style, the new the what fits for the people of today.
Absolutely. You guys are both successful leaders in your own right. You're leading companies, leading projects. I'm going to ask both you guys this question, but when I'm with business leaders, I always because I'm a student of leadership, I'm a sponge. So I want to ask both of you guys, what do you think is the most important attribute of a successful business leader? I'll ask you, Mark, first. What's the most important thing that a business leader needs to do these days to be a great leader?
So understanding who he or she depends upon and where you fit in the ecosystem. There's always somebody bigger than you and smaller than you. And if you're going to build your success with the help of others, you have to understand what they contribute. And some folks deal with stress in a different way, and you got to be able to kind of roll with that. And you got to be their psychologist, you got to be their doctor, and you got to be their friend. And you got to give a part of you to the people that you depend upon. Yeah. And so, and you got to be ready to eat your cake too. And if there's a ditch that you got to crawl down into to get the work done, you got to be ready to do it yourself. You can't ask somebody to do something that you've either not done or you're not willing to do. It's just unfair. And if you don't appreciate the struggles that everyone is going through, then you don't know really what you're asking them to do. Yeah. And so without that knowledge, you can't move forward as a leader, in my view. And I don't lead that much, but I mean, I understand how the game works.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. David, from your perspective, what do you think is the most important attribute of a successful business leader today?
Well, as everybody says, you have to listen. Whether you follow, you have your own views, but you have to listen and incorporate and get what you can out of it. I mean, when I wake up every day and I tell my son and daughter this, and it's been that way, from the beginning. I want to accomplish something every day. I want to try to learn something every day. If it's just something weird or kind of stupid, but it's just knowing about just a situation, why a light comes on in the car, what you do. You don't just keep driving the car, the light come on. So the light come on, get it checked.
Yeah, you don't want to put black tape over it, right?
Yeah, you want to know what the next step is. But
exactly. Yeah, that's
listening
good.
to people and being flexible. And as you get older, you get seasoned like fine wine a little bit, having the energy and I always say that, everybody always says to me, and it's been said even, going into banks years ago, you come in happy all the time. You're always smiling. I said, well, you want me to come in all sad and bummed and tell you things are bad and ask you for, $1 million loan? That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. So, you got to be upbeat. And even when you're on a job site even, and you raise heck about the situation, or you discuss and you can, get mad and talk about why something isn't correct or why it's not right. We all make mistakes, but don't degrade somebody, because those are the people that are making you. Absolutely. And that's their job.
Well, David, let me ask you this. I mean, you've seen the pinnacle of success here in the Morgantown area, North Central West Virginia. Let's put it that way, because it's way bigger than just Morgantown. What keeps you going? How do you get that drive?
It's crazy. People ask me all the time, when you're going to retire. I'm 60, my brother's 65. He's just skiing. He tells everybody, my brother doesn't have a hobby. My hobby's working, I mean, when we got out of, sold our stores and got out of the retail side, I just get up every day, just excited to make something happen, to learn something, to get knowledge on a deal, to help other people. I've helped a lot of people in a lot of things. I love to help somebody put something together and make a business and make a success of what they want. Yeah. Whether it's another restaurant that we have to help put them in business and finance them, or an apartment complex, or build it for them. I give my time to anybody. It's I like them. I go to meetings and tell my wife, we got to eat, I got to run. She says okay, or she might be with me, and I'll go down to council and speak my piece. They might like it, they might not, but I want to be able to be there and be for the people. People even said often, why don't you run for office? I don't know that I have that part. I just want to give my advice and let someone take it that's maybe smarter than me and do better with it.
It's amazing.
That, I can build something. I can give you my vision, but you take it and run with it and some of my ideas and make it better.
Yeah, it sounds like you're very grounded in just you're truly helping people, and I feel like that's probably a family trait. I've known a lot of your family members over the years, and they're just great people too. So it comes naturally, And I love the fact that you just get energy by doing stuff. Waking up. I don't see you retiring.
Yeah, I think that won't be. I'm going to have to be
I think it's pretty awesome.
To the end.
and let it be said too that you also have a lot of fun in life too. So,
well, that's the thing.
But that's
I don't really have a job.
That's
right.
It's
not a job. It's
your life.
I get up and have fun.
Yeah.
It's what I do, and
I think it's really
exciting.
cool.
And we're lucky. I'm the luckiest man.
I'm going to ask both you guys this question too, and it's because you're both are entrepreneurs. What's one piece of advice you would give to somebody thinking about starting a business here in West Virginia, David?
Well, no matter what business it is, definitely got to put the time in. And I've been saying for, over 25, 30 years, basically, that if you get up in Morgantown and you work 30 hours, 40 hours a week, you're just going to live, normal, and you'll be fine, I guess. If you work 50 or 60, you're going to definitely, excel. And if you work any more than that and you work with people, you just have to put the time in, and there's bumps in the road all the time, but you can't let the bumps, get you down. And, even, I can remember back, I was just telling the story to a banker because they were just, they're floored at how we grew so fast in a smaller area, and not in a New York or a DC or, in a Virginia. But I said, well, back in 2000, I had 12 projects going. And my nephew says today, once in a while at lunch, I don't know how you did it, Uncle Dave. My dad goes, or my nephew said, Dad, I don't know how you did it either. But when one wasn't going well over here at 8:00 in the morning, I just kind of went to the next one, and it was 10 or 11, and then I went to lunch, and I went to the next one at 1, and I mainly drove around. My brother stayed in the office and ran things, and the next day it would be a little different. The one wasn't going so well at 8:00 in the morning before. It's doing okay today, but you're going to have bumps on the road. But I had so many projects that
something had to be doing good at some point, right?
Something's going to go bad, and something's going to go good. So if you can't accept that,
That's
and
awesome.
As Mark said, you got to be able to take the stress and the pressure. And be
That's awesome.
Your stress has got to be unbelievable. Yes and no. And then somebody, my wife says he lives for it. I live with this stress. I just, have that little bit of pressure. Pressure cooker makes good things.
Yeah, it makes diamonds, right?
Yes, sir.
When you think about it. Yeah. So, Mark, from your perspective, if you were to give some advice to somebody, your son recently started a business. What kind of advice do you give young people thinking about, or even maybe it's somebody that's just wanting a career change? What would you say to them?
Well, my role usually is giving advice as a lawyer. While business development's not a big part of what I do, I do see a lot of that. And what Dave says is right. Yeah, you have to work. You just have nobody's going to give you anything. You have to work, and you have to be willing to make that self-sacrifice. Now, when you say that, you got to make sure your wife or your spouse or your partner is on board for that.
Right.
Because there's days that you miss dinner, and there's days that you're not even home. And I know he works more than anybody, but I mean that having a strong marital relationship is really important to you as an individual. You got to have all your rest of your stuff in place.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
You got to be willing to ask for help. You ought to have a good lawyer. You ought to have a good accountant, and you ought to have surround yourself with people who have similar goals in your life. If your friend's sleeping on the couch because he's lazy, don't hang out with him anymore.
Yeah.
If he's sleeping on the couch because he's saving his money because he's working toward his dream, that's your man. Don't
perspective.
Yeah, you got to understand what people are doing, and if they're really there to help you or if they're really there just to ride along.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And giving your time, giving time to the next generation, to the next person is very, very important.
Yeah.
I think like his son impresses me. I wasn't sure, when he came over and started running the business, but he's sound. He shows up. He's out in the morning. I see him in the company truck. He's not a partier all night long. He knows when to work, when to have fun, and he's serious about it. He'll be a success. how great, how big, or what he wants to do is all up to him. Like I said, if he works 40 hours, he'll make a good living. And at least he's working. He's a productive person. But he works and has another business and another business. And if he really wants to be the go-getter, some people, want to be, huge in what they do, and a lot of people say, well, where's your goal? When do you want to stop for me? It's not that. It's just creating something else, moving on, and now with my son and my nephews in there, it's kind of cool.
Absolutely.
And I like seeing
the next generation.
The next generation. I like seeing Mark's son, and I want to see other people get into stuff. What business? I got a vacant space. What can we put you in as a pop-up business to see if it works?
Try it.
I'm not going to tie you to a lease. We'll do an open lease. I call them open leases. Yeah. Do a 1-year lease. Give me a notice if it doesn't work in 6 months. And you walk and we shake hands. I don't want to break you. I want to create something.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome.
Not recognizing that there's no safety net is, and that's what I do tell my son. I'll help you to a point.
Yeah.
But you have to succeed.
Yeah.
And you can fail, and that's up to you.
Well, David, you used the word a few minutes ago, and that was the word opportunity, and I think about that as like young people, somebody who wants to come to West Virginia, there's a lot of opportunity here. The opportunity does favor the hardworking.
No question.
I have a saying, and you guys might relate to this. I didn't write it. Somebody said it years ago, but it says, everyone wants the fire. Few want to chop the wood. They see the trappings of success. They see you got a nice fancy car, you have a beautiful home, you have a fancy, vacation place or something, and they want that, but they don't want to put the work in.
Exactly.
And that's what that saying says. Everybody wants the fire. If you want to chop the wood.
You like to fish. You
that's
said the saying is, give a man a fish to eat.
You feed him for a day.
Feed him for a day.
Teach him how to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah, give him a fishing pole, teach him how to fish.
That's right.
And that's anybody that wants to work or put their time in. I've done whatever. If I've had to, give them an apartment, whatever I need to do, give them some free rent. Yeah. But when they can show me they work, I'll do anything for anybody because they're the next generation. And we cannot be lazy, here. We all got here as immigrants. And
exactly.
My grandfather came in 1920 and worked his way up. In 1929, he lost everything in a depression.
Wow.
So he went back to being a tailor. He started over. When he passed, in the 80s, he didn't have a lot, but he had integrity. He was a good businessman. He had a reputation.
Yeah.
So,
and you caught a lot of that, didn't you?
I think I got some of it. Yep.
Yeah, they say a lot more is caught than taught. And just being in that environment, I think.
Yeah, I mean, education, whether it's the schooling or whether it's just the hard school knocks.
That's right.
He when he was on bedridden, and I would go to shave him and clean him up, and I like to take care of him. He would say to me, "Go get that degree. Go get that degree." And I went to WVU 7 weeks, and I really let him down on that. He didn't see that part, but I couldn't go past the 7 weeks. I just couldn't sit there. But he would definitely be proud today. The rest of my family, most of them went to school.
Exactly. Well,
I just couldn't do it.
Here's the thing. I mean, there's different paths to success. It's not one path.
Yeah.
And I think I appreciate you sharing that because I think somebody needs to hear that today. There's lots of ways to get there.
All trade schools, I believe in tons of. Yeah. I believe in going to college, engineering, doctorate. It just depends on the business. Food school, go to a culinary school.
Yeah, sure. Because there's a need for everything, right?
In the restaurant business.
Yeah, be the best at what you can do. I think that's the key here. And I'm especially honored to have both of you guys because you're both products of West Virginia and you're doing it here in our state. And, we need more leaders just like David Biafora and Mark Keppel. Guys, we've covered a lot in this interview. Is there anything you think folks need to know about the East End Village, that project, East End Development, your company, or your personal stories that we haven't touched on? Mark, I'll ask you first. Anything else you want to mention?
It seems like the theme of our discussion here today really kind of became more about building people rather than building a project. And that's kind of an opportunity that we see. We're not really building buildings there. We're building this opportunity for other people to be successful. That commercial zone that's on that first floor, it's above parking so people can get there. It's thought out that way. We're using West Virginia, companies to do all these things for the most part. We didn't mention Omni Architects. Omni Architects in Fairmont, West Virginia is really a gem in West Virginia. They have the creative minds that kind of help build that video that people can see. Yeah. They have the design mindset to understand it, and they work. They work. They really work. Like what we're saying, you got to work it. Yeah. And they do a nice job, and they've created the vision of what those buildings are going to look like. It's inviting. You want to be there. When you see that video and you play the link, and I hope people do that. Yeah. They play the link and they see that. You can imagine yourselves walking through there. Go look at it now. You can't imagine yourself being there for a minute now because it's all torn up. But if we can successfully get done what we plan to get done there, it's going to be a community within itself. Yeah. It's really going to be nice.
I love it. David, anything you would like to add as we close out our time?
No, Mark really kind of summed it up as we're building a building, but you can build bricks and mortar and sticks and anything, anywhere. And it's just the neat thing that it's West Virginia. It's a hometown for us, and that we're going to create something really neat. But next generations, who knows who's going to be in there that's a success that goes on. We've had a lot of successful people come out of West Virginia.
Absolutely.
Maybe we notice some more because we're a smaller state with 1.78 million people.
Yep.
But it's great to see the success through WVU and what Milan had become, and many businesses that have grown out of West Virginia. Med Express. I mean,
exactly.
Frank Alderman did a hell of a job.
Yes, he did.
And it's just really cool. We're local, not growing out of state, but let's see who or what we can do to build a relationship and build the future.
Yep, I love it. That's awesome stuff. David, as we close out our time, how can our listeners learn more about these projects that you're working on, your companies, and maybe even get in touch with you guys? What's the best way to do that?
We've got different websites for the marketing part, for leasing and information on maybe some purchase of a parcel that they might have a different particular business that they need to own the property. Would be through Premier Commercial.
Yep.
Mike Audia there would be the contact person.
Good.
We have website. Can link a lot to that.
Yeah, and we'll make sure we put all those links for folks to get
the Mon County, Russ with Mon County has done a good job. Eric's been involved.
Eric
Carlson's been involved in projects similar to this out in Ohio.
Yeah,
and he's really excited, and
it's great.
He just had a baby and he's sticking around. And he said, he goes, I wasn't sure if I was going to move my family. He said, but this is so darn exciting and so big. This is a real feather in all of our caps. Exactly. And he says, I want to see this thing through.
Absolutely.
And he told me that before Christmas. And that was
stuff.
Nice to know that somebody that's not from around here that came here, but now is having a family, wants to stick around. And we hear that and see that a lot.
Absolutely.
Our town has grown since you and I have been young people.
Massive
Unbelievable. People just don't, where are they coming from and where are they working?
It's a side story. We talked about Suncrest Town Center, and right where that property was before you guys bought it, there was a little pond in the middle of that. It was like a little drainage ditch, and there was some catfish and stuff in there. I'd go, when I first moved to Morgantown, I'd take a fishing pole and go fish in that pond.
That's pretty wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's I've been here for a long time. You have too. Mark, David, it's been an awesome honor just to have you on this show today. I mean, just to have the wisdom that these folks get to hear you speak is awesome. It's powerful for us to be able to share a little bit about East End Village and East End development. What you guys are working on is really cool. And I'm just thrilled for this project. I'm happy to get the wisdom that you shared today. It was phenomenal. And I appreciate you guys. And you don't need encouragement from me, but I want to encourage you to keep up the great work. You guys are awesome.
We appreciate you and your company and where you've come from and gotten on your own in the last 14, 15 years and doing marketing. And I understand you're also working with my son and nephews.
That's right.
Marketing some of their rental properties and the things you're doing are kind of neat. And it's just exactly what we want to.
I love it.
Want to see. we might have to move you and put you in an office overlooking everything there.
Sounds amazing. I love it, guys. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
You.
Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. Of course, we appreciate your encouragement, sharing these great stories of guys like David Biafora and Mark Keppel on your social media channels and get the word out. We really appreciate that as well. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producers today, Mr. Justin Schofield and Hampton Hill behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, InnerAction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, Breezeline, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positively.wv.com/sponsor.